Hi, my name is Daniel Atha. I manage the New York City EcoFlora, a community science program to document and conserve the wild flora and fauna of New York City. The New York Botanical Garden is an advocate for the plant kingdom. We celebrate plants and fungi, and we work to remind people of the fundamental importance of plants to life on Earth. They produce the oxygen that sustains us, they clean the water, and they hold the soil. They give flavor to our food, and they provide inspiration to our literary and our spiritual lives. The New York City EcoFlora combines the New York Botanical Garden's historical strengths in collections with emerging opportunities in digital technology and community science to maximize the impact on plant conservation in New York City. All New Yorkers are invited to participate as community scientists to observe, collect, and compile information about the city's plants and their relationships with other organisms such as birds, insects, and mushrooms. As a scientific collections-based institution with some of the finest botanical resources in the world, the New York Botanical Garden is uniquely capable of providing the community with science-based information on plants and their ecological dynamics so that our planet can be managed wisely and sustainably. Flushing is a neighborhood in the borough of Queens, New York City. It is named after the Dutch estuary city of Vlissingen, which means flowing. 12,000 years ago, the last great glacier, more than a mile thick, began melting, and in its wake left a colossal sand and gravel bar that we call Long Island. An elevated ridge, sometimes up to 200 feet high, runs east and west the whole length of the island, all the way to Flushing, where it abruptly ends. The ridge's gravelly soils are highly porous and supported open park-like oak hickory forests and grassy meadows. An extensive underground aquifer seeps out of springs to form numerous creeks, 4 of which form the Flushing River. The area was unbelievably diverse. The numerous bays and creeks teemed with fish and shellfish. Game roamed the uplands, and the skies were filled with birds. Native Americans who arrived as soon as the glaciers retreated found everything they needed in abundance, including strawberries, grapes, chestnuts, walnuts, blueberries, cranberries, and many other wild foods, which they supplemented with corn, squash, and beans brought from the south. Some of the plants associated with these early inhabitants include places associated with these early inhabitants include Jamaica, named for the Jamico Indians, Rockaway, named after the Rockawackie Indians, and Maspeth, named for the Mespat Indians, who inhabited the headwaters of Newtown Creek to the west of Flushing. My talk today is dedicated to our earliest brothers and sisters who lived with a spiritual and physical connection to the land. Beginning in the early 1600s, the Dutch and later the English took possession of the best lands and established market farms on the fertile soils and built industries along the waterfronts. For much of the Dutch period of occupation, the salt marshes were common lands where people harvested salt hay, a nutritious coastal grass that once covered thousands of acres around New York City. In 1730, Robert Prince established America's first commercial nursery in Flushing, then a community of French Huguenots. Belligerents on all sides of the American Revolution recognized the value of the nursery, which was at the time the largest distributor of grapes and fruit trees in the New World. And as a result, the Prince Nursery emerged from the war unscathed. In 1791, George Washington, then presiding over the new nation from New York City, set off in his private barge, accompanied by his Vice President John Adams, to, quote, visit Mr. Prince's fruit gardens and shrubberies at Flushing, end quote. 2 years later, Secretary of State James Madison decided to take a break from politics and go on a, quote, botanizing excursion through New England. In Philadelphia, the early statesman and early abolitionist Benjamin Rush advocated the development of a sugar maple industry to, quote, lessen or destroy the consumption of West Indian sugar and thus indirectly to destroy Negro slavery. In addition to dozens of roses, other ornamentals, and many fruit trees, Jefferson left an extensive order with Prince's nursery, including the nursery's entire stock of sugar maples, which did not produce well at Monticello. After visits from the first 4 American presidents, Prince's nursery thrived, later named the Linnaean Botanical Garden and Nursery. After a ruinous gamble on mulberry trees and a nascent silk industry, the Prince family nursery declined and ceased operations around the Civil War. Easy access by water to the booming economy of New York City and the construction of roads and bridges propelled industrial and residential development in Flushing. Moving ahead, according to the 2010 census, the population of Flushing was 72,000 people, comprising 69% Asian, 15% Hispanic, 10% white, and 4% African American. Flushing notable people include Nancy Reagan, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Henry Steinway, and the rapper Royal Flush. This video documents the industrial waterfront and the resilient biodiversity of Flushing Creek, which exists to this day. Today, the cultural and physical landscapes of Flushing are being gentrified, not by the city's entrenched power brokers, but by Asian American and foreign conglomerates who are nevertheless transforming a once working-class neighborhood into a replica of sleek, high-priced developments seen throughout the world. In December 2020, the New York City Council voted to approve the 29-acre Special Flushing Waterfront District with 39 in favor, 5 against, and 1 abstention. The project includes a private road network, a waterfront promenade, 1,725 residential units, 879 hotel rooms, office space, a community facility, retail, and parking. The project boasts of affordable housing, but the 61 units of affordable housing excuse me, are only 3% of the total and would be available for households earning 80% of the area median income of $85,360 for a family of 4. Nearly 75% of the project is in the 100-year floodplain. The proposal provides virtually no new open space for the community. Aside from a waterfront walkway required by zoning, the project adds only a 2,000 square foot plaza. For more information, see the Municipal Art Society 2020 SFWD. The Skyview Mall, just south of the proposed development, occupies 800,000 square feet of waterfront on Flushing Creek. Many of the worst mistakes of the past century were repeated here. Most egregiously and inexcusably, the massive complex turns its back on the water. Instead of celebrating the area's natural features, the developers were allowed to put the loading dock directly on the waterfront and plaster the back of the building with 2-story corporate logos visible from the water and from the highway.
All right, so I'm at the end of, I think this is 41st Avenue, could be wrong, really wrong, I don't know where this is. Skyview Mall, right at the end of public waterfront. Number 334, number benches 13. Yeah, so building department made this area public for sure. Look at this right above us, look at that. It's encompassed 1 mall and 46 high-end luxury condo buildings. Enjoy your commuter noise. I don't know who wants to be here, but okay. But this is the tiny area, and construction is already happening on the other side for another commercial project. And you call this waterfront? I don't know. You tell me what this is. I'm always curious about what this public waterfront is about. And since I have some time today, I might as well do a little exploration. So it comes around this warehouse area where they unload all the stuff for all these big companies, Best Buy, Target, BJ's, Marshall. Please tell me where the waterfront is. I mean, maybe if you go further up. If you're tall enough, you'll see the waterfront, yes. I don't know how tall you have to be, but at least higher than this fence right here.
220 species of plants, animals, and fungi have been documented along Flushing Creek, including over 100 plant species, 5 fungi, 1 crab, 1 mud shrimp, sea squirt, 5 mammals, 4 mollusks, 21 insects, 4 spiders, 6 ray fin fishes, and 46 bird species. Invasive plants such as mugwort and Phragmites are present, but by percent cover are far less abundant than are the indigenous species. The New York City EcoFlora is gathering data on the wild plants and animals to provide a science-based rationale for preserving the natural features of Flushing Creek. In partnership with the diverse coalition of community groups, we are fighting for the environmental, economic, and social justice rights of the Flushing community, including the wild plants and animals. Thank you for your attention.